Christian soldiers marching as to war, with the cross of Jesus going on before. Christ the royal master leads against the foe. Forward into battle, see his banners go. Onward, Christian soldiers, marching as to war, with the cross of Jesus going on before. Oh, for a faith that will not shrink, though pressed by every foe, that will not tremble on the brink of any earthly woe, that will not murmur or complain beneath a chastening rod, but in the hour of grief or pain will lean upon its God. A faith that shines more bright and clear when tempests rage without, that when in danger knows no fear, in darkness feels no doubt. Lord, give us such a faith as this, and then whate'er may come, we'll taste and hear the hallowed bliss of an eternal home. A charge to keep I have, a God to glorify, a never-dying soul to save, and fit it for the sky, to serve the present age, my calling to fulfill. Oh, may it all my powers engage to do my Master's will. Arm me with jealous care, as in thy sight to live, and thy servant, Lord, prepare a strict account to give. Help me to watch and pray, and on thyself rely, assured if I my trust betray, I shall forever die. Rise up, O man of God, have done with lesser things, give heart and mind and soul and strength to serve the King of Kings. Rise up, O man of God, his kingdom tarries long. Bring in the day of brotherhood and end the night of wrong. Rise up, O man of God, the church for you doth wait. Her strength unequal to her task, rise up and make her great. Lift high the cross of Christ, tread where his feet have trod, as brothers of the Son of Man, rise up, O men of God.
Good evening.
Let's edify. Good timing there. Synchronous timing. Hello, Sam. Hello, Reba. How are you doing? Did you bring up eSword yet?
I'm working on it.
Alrighty. You are welcome for the videos, Reba. Glad that you are able to find some good out of them. Of course, our purpose is to edify the saints, to build one another up. That is our purpose. We can do that through instruction. We can do that through our songs, and we can do that through the time that we spend together getting involved in one another's lives, knowing about each other. Like Sam, how is our search for going for the eatery?
Reba says hi, y'all. Hi,
Yes,
Reba.
he does. We know that Reba has made it to Waco, is trying to settle in while still looking for a lovely domicile near her daughter. Yeah, I know, Lord. Domicile. I saw your chat a little bit. I'm watching my second son run around. Amos, he's working on some engines, hoping that that's a long prayer list, Sam. You've got a lot to pray for. Anyway, he's working on some engines and specifically lawnmower engines, hoping to get my main engine up and going for tomorrow because I've got 3 very large lawns to mow. We all need help, Brother Sam. We all need help. And we all need all the help we can get, especially from the good Lord above. Amen.
Amen. There's almost like no way to have this fan and not have your pages all blown away. You have to move the fan over.
Actually, if you move it toward the pantry and have it blowing towards your face, that would be the best way.
I was just thinking about that. I have to get up and go over there to it.
Aw, you poor baby. Oh, you're getting a home together, Lord willing. Oh, that's even better. And yeah, I see that. That would be wonderful, wouldn't it? You have your wing of the house and she has her wing of the house, right?
Good.
I was going to say, Reba, you know what? I know of a perfect place for you.
Come back.
It's a 2-story house, got a attached garage in the basement. Not only that, there's a lovely big shop just a few yards from the house with garage doors on it. Got barns, sheds, about 5 to 10 acres, I think it is, worth of building site where you could have all sorts of animals, and the little grandkids could be playing outside. It's on pavement. You get all 4 seasons, winter, not winter, and construction. And then lots of construction. Those four seasons. No, it's not that bad.
Iowa only has 2 seasons, winter and construction.
Pretty much. And it's only like 7 miles from us. That only really works if you guys can act, if she can work from anywhere. Teresa says, "Hey, family, Sean said he'd be back. He's gone to the store."
Yeah.
Don't tell me they're going to put him on display.
That little piggy went to the market.
That's about the case of it, Sam. You know, we're all rather needy when it comes to that, aren't we? I think the good Lord's used to that. I mean, you know, after all, He created us.
We are rather helpless.
We are indeed. That's why He is the potter and we are the clay. Mold me and make me.
He's getting pickles.
Sorry, Teresa.
Make sure to wax Sam or Rashawn. Make sure to wax Sean when he gets back home.
No, I think I'm going to keep my reply just to myself, but I'm laughing on the inside. I'm laughing really hard right now. You know, I mean, God's the potter. We're the clay. We need to remember that the clay does not tell the potter how to fashion it. Ah, never say never though, Reba.
Actually,
Never
a lot
say
of
never.
Iowans.
And I love the way you put that. My son in love. I love the way you put that. It irritates me when people say son-in-law or daughter-in-law. For crying out loud, are they or are they not your son or daughter? Come on, people. When they marry into your family, you accept them as your child. Forget the law part.
Yeah, leave the law out of it.
Teresa. You know that when a husband runs to the store for pickles, something's up. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say.
Well, at least it's not her husband.
Is there a law in what, Sam?
No, they're all outlaws. This is so true. Sam says, "Who made that law?"
It is an unspoken rule, Sam. Oh. Does he not like sauerkraut? Does he like sauerkraut? I should ask that. That thing's rattling around. That's probably rusty on the inside. Okay. Sauerkraut is really good for the stomach as well, Teresa. Not just pickles, but sauerkraut itself, because it is fermented. It is actually really good for your stomach. You ready to lead off on 405?
Mm-hmm.
You lead off, bud, because I'm not good for high notes.
Swiftly we're turning.
You're a little off, flat on your. You want me to help you start it off? Swiftly we're turning life's daily pages. Swiftly the hours are changing to
years. How are we using God's golden moments? Shall we reap glory? Shall we reap tears?
No. All right.
I remember it slower than what you started it off as.
Well, it's usually up to the song leader who leads it, whether it's slow or not. I usually lead it faster than that because it says swiftly we're turning.
But it's a simple
There's
song.
it's an no. It's an imperative song. Remember what imperative means? This is a command. It's something that has urgency to it. Okay, so this is an urgent song. Swiftly we're turning life's daily pages. Swiftly the hours are changing to years. How are we using God's golden moments? Shall we reap glory? Shall we reap tears?
Into
Into
our
our
hands
hands the
the gospel is
gospel is
given.
given.
Into
Into
our
our
hands
hands is
is given
given the
light.
light.
Haste
Haste
let
let
us
us carry
carry God's
God's
precious
precious
message,
message,
guiding
guiding
the
the
erring
erring
back
back to
to the
the right.
right.
You lost it on the chorus. Millions are groping without
Without
the
the
gospel.
gospel,
Quickly
quickly
they'll
they'll
reach
reach
eternity's
eternity's
night.
light. Shall we
Shall we
sit
sit
idly
idly as
as
they
they
rush
rush
onward?
onward?
Haste,
Haste,
let
let
us
us
hold
hold
up
up
Christ
Christ
the
the
true light.
light. Into
Into
our
our hands
hands
the
the
gospel
gospel
is
is
given.
given.
Into
Into
our
our
hands
hands
the
is
given
given
the light.
light.
Haste,
Haste,
let us
carry
carry God's
God's
precious
precious message,
message, guiding
guiding
the
the
erring
erring back
back to
to
the
the
light.
light. Souls
Souls
that
that
are
are
precious,
precious,
souls
souls
that
that
are
are dying,
dying, while
while
we
we
rejoice,
rejoice,
our
God's
sins
sins
are
are
forgiven.
forgiven.
Did
Did
he
he
not
not
also
also
die
die
for
for
these
thee?
lost ones? Then
Then
let
let
us
us
point
point the
way unto heaven.
way
Into
into
our
our
hands the
the
gospel
gospel
is
is given.
given. Into
Into our
our hands
hands
is
is
given
given
the
the
light.
light.
Haste,
Haste,
let
let
us
us carry
carry God's
God's
precious
precious message,
message, guiding
guiding
the
the
erring
erring
back
back
to
to
the
the
right.
All righty, let's see what we missed.
Sam
If
says,
I'm
if unspoken, then God never said. Those that spoken is the word.
right, but you know as well as I do, Sam, that there are unspoken rules in marriage, and it's our job as husbands to figure those rules out before we get slapped upside the head with a wet fish. Teresa says, I think I tried sauerkraut, whatever you call it. It's not good to me. Sauerkraut, it depends upon who makes the sauerkraut, whether or not it's going to be good. There's a sweet sauerkraut, there's regular sauerkraut, there's Polish sauerkraut. You know,
Polish is not
I
good.
never cared for sweet sauerkraut and I never cared for Polish sauerkraut, but true sauerkraut I like. Now, there's some sauerkrauts, some regular sauerkrauts I don't like either. And a lot of it depends upon the maker of the sauerkraut. I like our homemade sauerkraut, and I like what we get up here is Frank's sauerkraut in the bottle. I don't like it in the can, but I love it in the bottle.
Glass
Rita
jars
says,
make
"Yum, hot dogs and
glass
sauerkraut."
jars make the difference.
Teresa says, "Oh no, they're back." Reba says, and fried potatoes and deviled eggs and a slice of onion. Yum.
She's planning our next barbecue.
Uh huh.
We
I
were
noticed you
talking
didn't.
about a while back ago. We were talking about what we'd have if we all got together for like lunch.
Oh
We were
man,
discussing.
we'd have a big
We planned every meal.
cookout.
Actually, we planned every meal.
Yes, we do. We try to. I try to
No,
keep. I
Reba
try
and
to
me
teach.
did.
Huh?
Reba and me planned every meal we
Oh
have when we got together.
well, we try to plan on our meals here too, but doesn't always succeed.
Like we start out with bacon, sausage, pancakes, waffles. Oh, sausage and gravy, biscuits and gravy.
Well, while we're waiting for Sean to join us so we can talk about what he wanted to talk
He's
about, well, how about
carrying his heavy pickle through the door.
370?
Carrying his heavy jar of pickles through the door.
Oh, well, it's good if you like it, Sam. But it is good, especially it's really good for the stomach, especially if you have stomach issues,
What did
because
you say?
the 370.
Okay.
Because the sauerkraut is actually has probiotic, it has cultures in it to help the flora, the bacteria in your gut um to process your food and stuff.
It's also easier for your stomach to digest because it's technically already half digested.
True.
So it's easier on the stomach and good for the stomach. Sam says, yuck.
Well, like I said, it's good if you like it.
You ever get the mouse in your house fixed, Sam?
$370. Living below in this old sinful world, hardly a comfort can afford. Driving alone to face temptation sore, where could I go but to the Lord? Where could I go? Where could I go? Seeking a refuge for my soul, needing a friend to save me in the end. Where could I go but to the Lord? Neighbors are kind, I love them everyone. We get along in sweet accord. But when my soul needs manna from above, where could I go but to the Lord? Where could I go? Where could I go? Seeking a refuge for my soul, needing a friend to save me in the end. Where could I go but to the Lord? Life here is grand with friends I love so dear. Comfort I get from God's own word. Yet when I face the chilling hand of death, where could I go but to the Lord? Where could I go? Where could I go? Seeking a refuge for my soul, needing me a friend to help me in the end. Where could I go but to the Lord?
Could you send someone in here with lemon juice?
Possibly. Ezra, I say I need some lemon juice. Yeah. Well, it hasn't broke. That bolt. Well, you know, it usually doesn't happen. It doesn't if somebody keeps putting their toes back with a ball.
Any shot.
Yeah.
How about 387?
387? Oh. Well, let me take a drink. I'm about out of tea. Wonder if Alicia can
I
come back
just
this
have
way.
old water from yesterday or this morning.
Hold on. Ezra's headed your way, so you can have him grab you some more.
Can you please refresh my water?
Hey, Scott, how are you?
There you are.
Mr. Pickle Man, you're in a pickle. She was listening, all of a sudden the Bible reading was started. Now she's back.
Facebook decided to switch subjects. Yeah.
Ah, snack for your midnight meds. Okay, well, maybe not midnight, but anyway. When you're ready.
Hang on. Let's just move the fan. Blew me
Okay.
away. Blew my song away.
Ezra, send Alicia this way.
So now I gotta refine the song again.
So 387.
Yeah. Ezra had to move the fan to get into the pantry. And he didn't put it back, and so.
The clouds out here are really cool. They're making like waves. There's just lines of clouds rolling in.
Am I back?
You're still here. What are you talking about being back?
You said my mic was unplugged.
Oh,
I moved the fan, and all of a sudden it said my mic was unplugged. I know.
already. You got slices or something? Ate all my shredded cheese. I said who? All right,
Ready?
go for it.
Oh, the blessed rock of
Rock of ages,
ages,
I am
trusting now,
now,
dear
dear
Lord, in
dear Lord,
thee.
in thee I'm trusting. Keep
Keep
me
me till
till
my
my
journey's
journeys
ended,
ended. Keep me till
till
thy
thy blessed
blessed
face
face
I
I see.
see. Hide me, O
O
blessed
blessed
rock of
rock of ages, hide
ages,
me till
till thy
thy
blessed
blessed
face
face
I
I see, thy face I see
see.
in glory. When
When the
the
storm
storm
around me
round me
rages,
rages, blessed rock
rock of
of
ages,
ages,
hide
hide
thou
thou me.
me. Keep me when the storm clouds gather.
Storm clouds gather, keep me till
Till the
the
sun
storm
comes
comes
shining
comes
through.
shining through the shadows. Keep
Keep
me
me till
till
my
my
work
work
is
is
over.
over, work is over. Keep me till
Till I
I
bid
bid
this
this
world
world
adieu.
hide
Hide me,
me,
O
O
blessed
blessed
rock
rock
of
of ages, rock of ages, hide me
ages.
till
Till thy
thy
blessed
blessed
face
face
I
I
see.
see in glory where
When the
the
storm
storm
around
around
me
me rages, round me
rages,
rages, blessed rock
rock of
of
ages,
ages,
hold
hide
thou
thou me.
me.
When
When my
my
journey
journey
is
is
completed,
completed, Savior, rest.
and there's
There's
no
no
more
more
work
work
to
to do, no work
do,
to do, oh blessed Savior.
Savior,
You
guide
guide
my
my
weary spirit.
weary spirit to that
Happy
happy
land
land
beyond
beyond
the
the blue.
blue. Hide
Hide
me,
me,
O
O
blessed
blessed
rock
rock
of
of ages, rock of ages, hide me
ages,
too.
till thy
Thy
blessed
blessed
face
face
I
I see, thy face I
see.
see in glory where
When the
the
storm
storm
around
around
me
me
rages,
rages, blessed rock
rock of
of
ages,
ages,
hide
hide
thou
thou me.
me.
Good job. I got tea. You got water?
Yep, I
Woo-hoo.
got tea. You got water. I got water. You got tea. Dad has become enlightened.
515.
Teresa says amen.
Ah! How about after this one, we go ahead and hit Sean's question from earlier? I'll go over the text.
Rita says hallelujah. And Teresa corrects herself to the singing.
Oh, let's see here. We'll do Sam's after, right after the question on the text. Then we'll figure that one out and then do that one right after the.
You say 5:15?
Yep. You don't remember this one, do you?
I do not.
God in heaven is my Father, through eternity the same. Jesus Christ is my Redeemer, and I praise His holy name. Sons of God, now sing the praises of the blessed Lamb above. He has died for your salvation. He has saved you by His blood. God's great Spirit is my teacher. He has brought me from the night of great sin and death and judgment through the blessed word of life. Sons of God, now sing the praises of the blessed Lamb above. He has died for your salvation. He has saved you by His blood. Blessed light that guides my footsteps Blessed
Blessed
hope
hope
that
that
guards
guards
my
my soul.
soul. Blessed
Blessed
peace
peace
that
that
keeps
keeps
me
me
singing
singing.
while
While
I
I
journey to
journey to
the
the
goal.
goal.
Sons
Sons
of
of
God,
God,
now
now
sing
sing
the
the
praises
praises
of
of
the
the
blessed
blessed
Lamb of
Lamb of
God. He
He
has
has
died
died
for
for
your
your
salvation.
salvation.
He
He
has
has
saved
saved
you
you
by
by
his
his
blood.
blood.
When
When
I
I
cross
cross
the
the
silent
silent
river,
river,
when
when
I
I
see
see
the
the
land
land
of
of
rest,
rest,
when
when
the
the
roll is
roll is
called
called
up
up
yonder,
yonder,
where I shall
me
be among
among
the
the
blessed.
blessed.
Sons
Since
of
I've
God,
gone,
now
now
sing
sing
the
the
praises
praises
of the
of the
blessed
blessed
Lamb
Lamb
of
of
God.
God.
He
He
has
has
died
died
for
for
your
your
salvation.
salvation.
He
He
has
has
saved
saved
you
you
by
by
his
his
blood.
blood.
Now you remember it?
Yes.
John, you leaving us after you asked a question? Don't want to hear the answer?
Wow,
Wow.
that's sad.
He's going to hear the dad's debate. I wonder how that's going.
Who's he debating with?
Uh forget his name, but someone who basically Paul posted a song about how baptism was necessary, and the guy responded on that song on that post with, according to Galatians, you're adding to the Word of God, and saying that that we are saved by grace through faith only, not of works or not of yourself. And so Paul posted a video response to that, and the guy invited him to an informal debate, and it began at 9:30 Eastern this evening. So that would have been 9:30 a.m. Sam time, and
Informal?
informal. So
Does
wonder
it
how
mean
that's going.
unformal?
Not formal, not a formal debate.
Okay.
So it's basically just a chit chat back and forth, evidently.
Mm,
That's the way we look at it, Sam. Jesus said it, therefore it is. That's the end of the matter. But people are going to bend over backwards trying to get out of what they view is unnecessary
people just want to do what they want to do.
instead of what Jesus says to do. And it boggles my
It
mind. Do
stems.
we?
It stems from a lack of submission.
And that's ultimately what it is. It is a lack of a submission to the authority of Jesus. It matters not to them that Jesus said it in Matthew and in Mark, because they will go and they will say, well, Mark wasn't, they'll try every which way they can to say that Mark 16 verses 15 and 16 weren't originally in the manuscripts, which is a complete farce. But anyway, um, number 62, by the way. And then the thing of it is, Jesus said it. If Jesus said it, that's the end of the matter.
Number
What more do
62.
we need? Yes. It's a lack of submission to the authority of God, a lack of recognition of the authority of Christ. Even if you want to claim that Mark 16 verses 15 and 16 weren't in there originally, you cannot make the same statement about Matthew chapter 28 verses 18 through 20, where it says that they are to teach and to baptize and to then teach again or to continue teaching. So if Jesus commanded it in that one, after saying that I have all authority from heaven, what more do you need?
It is a necessary step.
It is a necessary step. And make sure you make a pause between that, because the way you said it, it almost sounded like you said unnecessary step. So Jesus
It
said
is a
that's the end of
necessary
it.
step.
Jesus said it, that's necessary, then therefore it's necessary. Jesus said it through the apostles, therefore it's necessary. Jesus said it through, I mean, that's the end of the matter. Jesus said it in through Peter. Jesus said it through all the teaching of the book of Acts. Jesus said it through Paul, and he said it again through Peter.
We have a lot of examples
A lot of examples.
to follow.
It's number 62.
You
Since
keep moving your hand, and your camera keeps focusing in and out.
does it?
Yeah, it's funny. Well, no, it's when you put your hand down. You just
Let there
activate
be
the
light.
light. It's like when you put your left hand down or something. It tries to zoom out. That's your right.
I know. My left hand's closer.
61.
62.
Have thine own way.
No.
Started that wrong.
Remember what it says right there above the bars?
Slowly.
Have thine own way, Lord. Have thine own way. Thou art the fountain.
I am the clay.
Mold me and make me after thy will, while I am waiting, yielded and still. Have thine own way, Lord, have thine own way. Search me and try
me,
Master, today, whiter than snow,
Lord.
wash me just now,
As in thy presence,
humbly I bow. Have thine own way,
Lord,
have thine own way. O Lord, my being, answer me, fill with thy spirit, fill
Hello shall
my
sing, Christ
Christ
only
only
always
living in
living.
me. There's two other verses to that song, and you'll find them in the praise for the Lord.
Yes.
I don't have them in any of the books that I have out here, but I know that they are in that one.
$197 in Teresa's book. Just one more.
One more.
It's verse 3 on this one.
I know.
Wounded and weary.
Yep. Wounded and weary.
Help me, I pray.
I pray.
Power,
All power
surely
is thine.
touch me and
And
heal
me,
me. Savior.
Master or Savior divine.
Have thine own way, Lord. Have thine own way.
Wounded and
weary. Help me, I pray. Power, all power.
surely is
Thine, touch me and heal me,
Savior divine. Reba's hearing the night voices out here.
Noises.
I know we got light. My wife is rediscovering with joy that we have light out here on the porch now with this ceiling fan. It's only been up for almost a week now.
I wired the ceiling fan in.
Yes, he did.
After Ezra started the mounts and I finished hanging it. I hung our fan.
Yeah.
101.
101.
What?
101.
101. Sam says hearing things again.
She was kind of tickling herself. Come out, showed me. I said, "Look, there's the bottle." It was on the floor down there. Instead of leaning over here to get it, she leaned over the railing to reach down and grab it. Ready?
Oh, to Jesus
I
I surrender. All to Him I freely give. I will ever love and
trust Him
in His presence daily live. I surrender all.
I surrender all.
I surrender all.
I surrender all to Thee, my blessed Savior.
I surrender all to Jesus. I surrender humbly at His feet I bow.
Worldly pleasures
all
forsaken. Take me,
Jesus, take me now. I surrender all.
I surrender all.
I surrender all.
I surrender all to Thee, my blessed Savior.
I surrender all
to Jesus,
I surrender. Make me
Savior,
wholly thine. Plant me
me feel the
Holy Spirit.
Didn't know that one.
Truly
know
that
that
thou
thou
art
mine.
mine. I surrender. No,
I surrender all.
I surrender
I surrender all
all to
to
thee,
thee,
my
my blessed
blessed
Savior. I
I surrender
surrender
all
all
to
to Jesus.
Jesus.
I
I
surrender.
surrender, Lord,
Lord, I give
give
myself
myself to
to
thee.
thee.
Fill
Fill
me
me with
with thy
thy love
love and
and
power.
let
Let thy
thy blessing
blessing
fall
fall
on
on
me.
me. I surrender. No,
You're right.
I am.
Yeah.
No. I surrender
I surrender all. I surrender. I surrender all to thee, my blessed Savior. I
I
surrender
surrender
all. All right, let's give your voice a rest, Shosha, because you're really straining on that one. Um, what was the question then that from the text that Sean had?
I
You want to bring up the text back?
need to jump back and look at um it.
You remember how to do that, right?
Heading to. I
Go
suppose I
to
can
the,
do that in the other streamer tab.
yes, you go to the other StreamYard tab and you go to the past broadcasts
Yeah. Okay.
and you enter into that studio.
Yeah. Tanya made it in.
Huh?
I said Tanya Warwick made it in at the
Oh
end.
wow, nice.
Jumped in after we closed down.
We have a lot of people that are able to watch the restream rather than watch it live.
Yeah. Where is it?
Well, it'd be above the prayer, wouldn't it?
It's like it's not there.
Be above the prayer, wouldn't it?
It's not giving me all of the comments. This I can tell. It's only giving me a small few of them.
No, this was after. This was on the text on First Kings, something or other. Amos.
Yeah. Something about a false prophet.
Never mind. That may be the neighbors. May not be. In answer to that one, I can answer that one real quick again. First off, Roe v. Wade today was overturned. what is Roe v. Wade? As most people know, it was where the Supreme Court, on what even most, even the judges at the time um, admit was very, very incorrectly applied judgments or arguments and legal standing, legislated from almost legislated from the bench. They basically said that abortion, and this person had the right to an abortion, and it was taken and ran with as a law when there was no law. And for over 50 years, or roughly 50 years, people have been holding that up as a law, and it was not, never has been. So finally, the Supreme Court has overturned that ruling because of the dubious and incorrectly applied law, incorrectly applied legal footing. They overturned it. Now, what is happening today? Today it was overturned. Period. It's no longer a law. It's no longer able to be used. So what's the next step? Well, the next step has already begun several months ago when the document was leaked regarding.
I found his comment.
Okay, I'll use that in a
There's
minute.
actually two of them.
Okay. So what's the next step? As I said, it began a couple months ago when that document was illegally leaked from the Supreme Court. And what happened then is that certain legislators began the process of introducing a bill into the United States houses, Senate and the House of Representatives, to actually codify abortion as a right. And so, to my knowledge, that neither one has enough votes, and I think they were both dead on arrival. But right now, as it stands, it is up to the states to determine whether or not that abortion is legal in those states. So that's in regard to Roe v. Wade. Roe v. Wade was overturned today. The question now is, 1 Kings chapter 22 and verse 23. The servants of the king of Syria said unto him, their God is a God of the hills, therefore they were stronger than we.
That was 20.
Oh.
But I did want to know about the guy at the end of 20.
The verse is 22, verse 23.
That's two.
Now therefore, behold, Jehovah hath put a lying spirit in the mouth of all these thy prophets, and Jehovah hath spoken evil concerning thee. Micaiah was the prophet of God. He is the true prophet. The rest of the prophets that were, if you scroll back up a few verses, scroll back up. I want to find the beginning of the prophets there.
Oh, with the multitude of prophets?
Yes.
Yeah, it's like...
Right about...
The multitude was there first, and Jehoshaphat said to the king. Okay. Here it is. Gathered the prophets together. 400 men.
400 men. They gathered these 400 men and said unto the Ahab says, shall I go up against Ramoth Gilead to battle, or shall I forbear? They said, go up. The Lord will deliver it into the hand of the king. Now notice what this little important detail right here. Verse 7 says, Jehoshaphat said, is there not a prophet of Jehovah?
Yes. That draws a distinction between the other prophets.
It is, the reason I say it is a note of this little distinction here is that Jehoshaphat recognized the fact that these were not prophets of Jehovah. Whatever they were, whoever their God was, it was not a God, it was not the God of Israel. It was not the God of Judah.
It was a bunch of prophets that Ahab had gathered together.
And it was abundantly clear to Jehoshaphat, is there not a prophet of Jehovah here besides that we may inquire of him? So whether it was apparent, I mean, whether they were saying in the name of Chemosh or the name of Baal, or the name of Ashtaroth or whatever, it was abundantly clear to Jehoshaphat that these were not prophets of God. And Ahab says, well, yeah, there is. Name is Micaiah, and he's the son of Imlah, but I hate him because he never prophesies good for me. He only prophesies evil. But Jehoshaphat says, well, don't let the king say this. In other words, don't you dare don't you dare despise the prophet of the Lord, in other words.
It almost sounds, in my head, it almost sounds like, say it ain't so, sort of same thing.
Well, and
I'm not the king, say so.
That should have been a warning to Jehoshaphat, really. It really should have been. If here the king Ahab is saying, he only prophesies evil about me and he's the prophet of the Lord, Jehoshaphat said, well, see you later. That's what he should have said. If he's only prophesying evil about you, then you don't have the Lord on your side, and I ain't going with you. You don't have me either. But
there
no,
must be a reason he doesn't prophesy good
right.
for you.
but
Jehoshaphat was bound by his word because he said, "My horses are your horses," and he did that whole thing back there. Sure, I'll help you fight.
Yeah, and there again, what you see is Jehoshaphat doing just exactly what Joshua and the elders did back with the Gibeonites.
Yeah.
And here they're rushing to give their word without consulting the Lord first.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now let's scroll down, understanding that Micaiah is a true prophet of the Lord. It's abundantly clear that these 400 men are not prophets of the Lord. So what do we see? First off, here, go back up a minute.
This is funny right here.
I know it is. Go up a little bit. So the king goes and calls Micaiah. And of course, they tell Micaiah, don't you dare prophesy anything evil against the king, which is
that
funny.
That doesn't happen until 3 verses down.
That's okay, but here, while they're waiting, what we see is the throne room. We see the throne room right here. We have 2 kings upon 2 thrones. They're kind of conversing, and we have all 400 of these prophets in the throne room talking and prophesying and saying, hey, go up and go up. Okay. I guess this is actually in the entrance to the gate of Samaria. So
yeah, it's an open place.
It's an open place, so everybody can see them. Mm-hmm. And you imagine this.
It's more like a court. It's like an outside court.
Well, it seems how it's the gate of Samaria. We're looking at the entrance to the city. And wide enough that anybody walking by can see them and hear what's going on. And one of these prophets. We learn later he's kind of like a chief of the prophet almost, a chief of those prophets, Zedekiah, the son of Kenana, made him horns of iron. This guy apparently comes ready to the task. He's got horns of iron. He's like, here, and you almost see him putting up to his head. Here, with these, with these, Jehovah says you are going to push the Syrians. You better take these with you.
Until they be consumed. It's just a
And
humorous
then,
picture.
you're going to push the Syrians until they be consumed. You're going to win. But only if you got these horns of iron. And all the prophets are doing the same thing. They're prophesying, go up to Ramoth Gilead, prosper. Jehovah will deliver it into the hand of the king. So the messenger goes to call Micaiah, and he says unto him, here's what the other prophets are saying. Make sure you prophesy the same thing.
He's almost begging.
Yeah, that's exactly what he's doing. He's begging him. Let thy word, I pray thee, be like the word of one of them, and speak thou good. You're always saying bad things to the king. Please, this time, just this once, say something good.
He sounds traumatized, too. This happens every time I get you. Please speak something good.
And Micaiah says, as we come to understand kind of the custom, we've seen it with Balaam, we've seen it kind of all the way down. What Jehovah gives me to speak, that I will speak. I don't sugarcoat things. I'm not going to tell you something that ain't true. And so he comes to the king. Right. That's right. That's exactly right, Sam. The messenger's like, tickle the king's ears, please. I beg you.
Thank you. Tickle his toes.
So he comes to the king, and Micaiah says to him, shall we go? The king says to him, Micaiah, shall we go up to Ramoth Gilead to battle, or shall we forbear? And Micaiah says, go up, prosper. Jehovah will deliver thee into the hand of the king. And you hear his word dripping with sarcasm.
Go up and prosper. Jehovah will deliver it.
Because otherwise, how else would the king say unto him, how many times shall I adjure you that you speak unto me nothing but the truth in the name of Jehovah?
How many times? This happens so many times is what it seems like. This is a repetitive thing. How many times shall I adjure you?
So Micaiah speaks the truth. I saw all Israel scattered upon the mountains as sheep that have no shepherd. And I want you to kind of key in on that verse for just a minute, because Jesus looked upon the Jews in the exact same manner as sheep with no shepherd, and he had compassion on them.
I was thinking the same thing as I read through that. I recall, Jesus looking out, and he's like, "They're sheep without a shepherd."
That's the exact phrasing that is said of Jesus when he looked upon the Jews. He said, and he saw them as sheep without a shepherd, and he had compassion upon them. Micaiah continues his prophecy, and Jehovah said, "These have no master; let them return every man to his house in peace."
They lost their order.
They lost their leader.
There was no sense of order left. No one to control the battle.
Well, and if you don't have a shepherd, what happens to the sheep? The sheep are wandering out in the cold. Where is that one? I think it's in my gray one. I think it's called "Don't Scatter the Sheep." It might be in my maroon one. Anyway, so the warning to the shepherds is what that song is. But anyway,
And you see here in this verse, Ahab turned into Jehoshaphat. He turns to look at Jehoshaphat. Did I not tell you that he would not prophesy good concerning me, but evil? That's total I told you so.
Right. That is a total I told you so. Then Micaiah then responds, "Hear now the word of Jehovah. Because I saw Jehovah sitting on his throne, and all the hosts of heaven standing by him on his right hand and on his left. Jehovah says, who shall entice Ahab that he may go up and fall at Ramoth Gilead?" One said this manner, another said that manner.
They were supposing suggestions.
And then finally came forth a spirit, stood before Jehovah and said, I will entice him. How, says Jehovah? I'll go forth and be a lying spirit in the mouth of all his prophets. You shall prevail. You shall entice him, you shall prevail. Go ahead. Does that mean God condones lying?
Condones.
If lying is a sin, does God condone lying?
I'm trying to remember what condone means.
Approves of it.
No.
No.
What this reminds me of is how God makes good come of every evil thing.
Well, let me ask you this. Did God try Job?
No, he let him be tried. He gave permission, but didn't do the actual.
Right.
Same way here.
God, understand that God, being outside of time because he's the one that created all things, including time, knows what is going to happen to each and every one of us. He knows how you and when you are going to pass from this life. He knows whether you're going to be faithful or not, and what it's going to take to draw you either into that relationship or out of it. What's going to happen? God knew exactly how Ahab was going to die. And we also know that God does punish people, especially in the old days. His punishment took a much more direct approach.
And Ahab did much evil in the sight of the Lord, more so than his fathers before him. So he basically earned everything he got coming.
So we are not told that this lying spirit was a messenger of God, but we are told that God allowed this lying messenger to be in the mouth of all these prophets. So in the same way that God hardened Pharaoh's heart, God used these lying false prophets. Sam says, wake me up. Keep my footing in you.
He says, be careful not to eat grass, we that wolves sleep.
where that wolves
Word.
sleep. Yes, we have free choice.
Free choice.
God knew that the false prophets that Ahab was going to choose was going to consult the false prophets. God also knew that these were false prophets. And by not revealing his will to the false prophets, those false prophets were lying to Ahab. Does that make sense? So the vision. Go ahead. What, Ezra? Or O'Shea?
I said they made it up.
They made it up. So in essence, what the vision that Micaiah saw was that since God didn't send them, they were lying. And the thing of it is that they understood what Micaiah was saying.
Yep.
Scroll down. So again, God chose not to reveal his will to these 400 men. Therefore, their message was false. But he did reveal his will to Micaiah, which was what Micaiah put earlier, that it would be like a sheep without a shepherd.
He was basically saying that Ahab was going to die.
Right.
They were going to lose their sense of leadership.
And then Zedekiah comes near and slaps Micaiah on the cheek and says, "Which way then did the Spirit of Jehovah go from me to you, to speak unto you?"
That reminds me much of Jesus as well.
Mm.
Who whacked you?
Yeah, they were dancing all around him, basically, going all around him and slapping him, saying, "Prophesy unto us, tell us who hit you." Well, Zedekiah comes unto Micaiah and says, "Which way went the Spirit of Jehovah from me to speak unto you?" In other words, Zedekiah was trying to claim that he spoke from God. And Micaiah I see Micaiah looking at him with that look. And Zedekiah, he had 400 men to back him up, so he was not 399 men. Anyway, he was not afraid to slap the Lord's prophet. But Micaiah turns and looks at him, and he's like, "Behold, you will see on that day when you shall go into an inner chamber to hide yourself." And Micaiah did not have to worry about. I mean, he knew who it was that gave him his message. He knew by what authority that he came before the king. He stood confident in the authority of God, and he could look directly at Zedekiah and chastise him with just that look and just those words. It reminds me of
almost a look of disdain.
It reminds me of Paul when he had trouble with Bar-Jesus on the Isle of what was it?
Chemosh.
No, on the Isle of Cyprus. I think it was Cyprus.
That was the first thing I know.
When he was standing, Bar-Jesus was trying to, or Elymas the sorcerer, Bar-Jesus, his surname was Bar-Jesus. Elymas was trying to retain his power and his hold over the governor of that island, and he was interfering. So what did Paul do? He turned and looked at him and he says, "You're going to be blind for a season, and you will know the power of God." And so from that point on, Bar Jesus walked about trying to find somebody. He was blind for a while. We're not told for how long, but he was blind for a while, and it was enough that it convinced the leader, the governor of the island, that what Paul was saying was the truth. And Micaiah is the same way. He was confident in his authority, and he just had that. To me, I see him having that look on his face when he
Yeah.
says, "You will see when you go into an inner chamber to hide yourself."
It's a look that says, I know I'm right and you're wrong.
And it's the look of a man who's confident in his message, confident in his abilities, and confident knowing he's right and you're wrong. And you almost see, because we see it in movies and stuff all the time, where the guy is standing confident and quiet uh, in his authority
Kind of
and
sullen.
skill, and you see the guy that has just cowardly whacked him upside the face, and you almost see him cowering away in fear when he says these words. But that's just me. That's the picture. That's the picture I have built in my head reading this so many times. So as we go on, then the king throws Micaiah into prison with the instruction to kill him if he doesn't come back. Which
Put this fellow in the prison.
feed him with the bread of affliction and with the water of affliction until I come in peace. So Micaiah was only to get bread and water until the king comes back. And Micaiah says, if you return at all in peace, Jehovah hath not spoken by me.
If thou return at all in peace, Jehovah.
And he says it loud enough to everyone. Remember,
Hear ye peoples.
remember again, we're in an open place at the entering of the city where there are 400 false prophets. There are people of the city gathered around to hear and to see this great thing of two kings from two different nations, Israel and Judah, sitting together and consulting and making battle plans. Hear you peoples, all of you. So many people heard that message that day by Micaiah.
And Sam says,
Confidence in who gave the message.
backing up the last thing, he says, sheep clothing, but goat heart, false smoking. And he says, you notice those are lies, try to be dramatic?
They do.
Put on airs. Drama queen. And then confidence in who gave the message.
Well, and Sam brings a really good point.
Yeah.
Have you ever noticed that those who try to deceive do so by utilizing the art of distraction? No matter what they're doing, let's look at it in light of the gospel message. How many times have you seen those who bring a false message, whether it be a message of the prosperity gospel or faith healing or you name it? And we could look at many different preachers from Joel Osteen all the way down through Billy Graham and what's his name, Baker.
They try to make it look
Jim Baker, and and even down to the snake healer, snake charmers and stuff like that. They put on a show.
They make it showy
To distract you from the message that they are preaching, so that you don't have time to really contemplate the message. And it makes it seem as if they really have it all together, as if they are from God. It's a distraction.
You're seeing what they're showing and not hearing what they're saying. Sort of thing.
It's a distraction.
It's a distraction.
And when you also think about how many of these denominations out there, when they're dealing with their worship, something been flickering, but anyway, when they're dealing with their worship, they use bands and all this type of stuff. Why? O'Shea? You're kind of flickering in and out.
I'm peachy on my side. You're popping in and out.
Our internet, I bet you there must be storms down at because your Wi-Fi is going, your video is going in and out for me.
Yours is going. That's what yours is doing.
Weird. I've got full bars and everything, but yours is going in and out. You're actually, your video is every so often doing the circle reload.
Huh.
And Sam says you're looking faded.
Right. It's this light.
Yeah, that's why I try to have the camera pointed down so it doesn't get that light.
Yeah.
That's better for the light.
Yeah, that is better.
But I don't know about the Wi-Fi, so anyway. So it's the art of distraction. Sister T, you have a wonderful evening as you head out.
What? Oh.
Sister T's heading out.
She's calling it.
She's calling it an evening. Well, I don't know what else she'd call it because it certainly ain't morning.
No, she's calling it a night.
In the evening and morning were the first. And the light he called day, and the darkness he called night, and evening and morning were the first day. Genesis chapter 1, verse 3. Or is that 4? Anyway.
4, 5.
So, back here in 23, back here, basically what we have is Micaiah heading to prison. So, Micaiah is a prophet of God. The 400 are false prophets, prophesying and lying because God has not revealed unto them his will, his word. Thus, their spirit that they have, that they are operating with, is a lying spirit.
What?
Go ahead.
With Sean's question, I guess those were two different questions. You wanted to know, is this guy at the end of 20 a false prophet? He asked that sometime before we got to chapter 22. So it wasn't a typo. He's referring to the guy that wanted to be smote.
Okay.
And we've pretty much settled Micah's thing, I figured. So.
We have. So let's look at this.
Yeah. This is because Ahab had just captured and then released Ben-Hadad.
Right. Elijah, was it Elijah or Elisha?
Just a certain man.
No. No, they bring a Ben-Hadad to Ahab.
Yeah.
Anyhow, scroll down. So Ahab releases Ben-Hadad, and a certain man of the sons of the prophets. So he is essentially a prophet. Said unto his fellow, by the word of Jehovah. So by that we know that God has instructed him.
Yeah, he was instructed by God.
Therefore, he is a prophet of God. He says, smite me, that's slap me, I pray thee, or strike me, or hit me as hard as you can. The man
Basically, wound.
refused. So then he says unto this man that refused, he said, because you have not obeyed the voice of Jehovah, as soon as you are departed from me, a lion shall slay you. And as soon as he was departed from him, a lion did slay him.
And so we know this guy spoke truth. Right
That's
there.
right.
It came to pass.
That was, one of the tests that Moses left in Deuteronomy.
Mm-hmm.
The test of veracity, the truth of a man, of a message of a man, of a prophet. If his word came to true, then you know that God had spoken of him and spoken of it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the lion slew him. Now,
So he walked up to the other guy.
Yep. So he finds another man. Says, "Smite me, I pray thee." The man smote him, and in smiting him, he wounded him, which is what the prophet wanted, which is what he was told. Sam says, often wonder those who false thought nothing would happen when fighting and lying against God. Well, yeah, I mean, ultimately, if the people had obeyed God, those false prophets, when their message was first found to be false, would have been killed.
Yeah.
Anyhow, but they didn't obey God. So the prophet departed, waited for the king by the way, and disguised himself with his headband over his eyes. So the king thinks he was blind. King passes by, he cried unto the king and said, your servant went out in the midst of the battle, and behold, a man turned aside and brought a man unto me. He said, keep this man. If by any means he be missing, then shall your life be for his life, or else thou shalt pay a talent of silver. And either you keep him if he's gone. If you lose him, your life's dead, or or forfeit, or you pay a talent of silver. So your servant was busy here and there, and he next thing he knew, the guy was gone. King of Israel said unto him, so shall your judgment be. You have decided it. Either you lose your life, or you pay a talent of silver. So the prophet takes away the headband.
Takes off his headband.
And the king of Israel discerned that he was of the prophets, and he said unto the king, thus hath Jehovah said unto you, because you have let go out of your hand the man whom I had devoted to destruction, therefore your life shall go for his, your people for his. And the king of Israel went to his house heavily and displeased, and came to Samaria. So in other words, Ahab was warned that his life was forfeit.
Kind of kicking himself in the foot.
And what we find then is Ahab paying that price in
this battle.
Verse 20, in chapter 25, or 23.
Chapter 22.
Chapter 22.
So yeah, we've discovered that this guy was a prophet of God.
He was indeed a prophet of God, because he spoke with a message from God. And you can find that in the very first verse of this particular section.
Yep.
So he was a son of the prophets, and he spoke by the word of Jehovah. Right there. And you can underline that point right there in verse 35, where it says, by the word of Jehovah. And know then that is indeed a prophet of God.
He told the guy, smite me, I pray thee, under the authority of Jehovah.
Yeah, by authority of Jehovah, he told this guy, God says you need to smite me. And the guy refused.
God, smite me.
And the guy said, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to
hurt you.
He refused. And so because you've refused, you're going to have a lion's going to kill you. And immediately, once the guy left him, well, immediately that's what happened.
And the guy wanted to be smote, or yeah, God wanted the guy smote so the guy could look like he'd been in the war, so Ahab would stop and look up.
Well, yeah, I mean, that was the message. That was part of the message.
Yep.
So,
Hey, Sean's back at the end of our answer to both of his questions.
oh, you got upset.
Oh, no. I think that's.
Is your stomach feeling better, brother?
Are you feeling better, brother?
Prayer is you're feeling better. Better brother, not a bitter better brother. Not a better brother. Did you bust it?
Sean says, please keep
I think we need a new one.
I've been working hard to control my
I didn't have to hold on.
We will certainly do that, brother. This prophet here in 20 is a prophet of God because he
But do we have another one?
by the word of Jehovah.
So how are we going to fix this?
Maybe.
With God's authority, he spoke his message.
Yeah, one of mine was it.
So,
Yeah.
Not take out the both.
Sean says, my wife and I are having a disagreement, and no, my stomach is still upset. Our prayers are for you, brother.
For both of you, actually.
For both of you.
Love you too, Sean. You take care. And as I said, our prayers for both of you.
We have, what, Sam's song left to do?
We already did that one. Have that on the way.
Oh. Okay. I was kind of thinking on 147.
147.
Sounds like a good closing song.
Oh boy.
I'm going to shut the fan off and see if that helps. Because I think its sound is kind of throwing me off. Ready?
Yep.
I have heard of a land on a faraway strand. 'Tis
The beautiful home of the soul.
built by
Jesus on high, where we never shall die.
is
Is a land where we never
grown.
go, never grow, where we never grow. In a land where we'll never
grow.
never grow, where we'll never grow. In a land where we'll never grow. In the beautiful home
where we'll nevermore roam.
we shall be
in the
sweet by
by and
and by.
by. Happy
happy praise to the King. To eternity sing. With the land where we'll never
shall
die.
die, never
Never
grow
grow old, where we'll never
never grow
grow
old
old.
in a
In a land where we'll never grow
old, never
never
grow
grow where we'll
old,
never
never grow
grow
old
old.
in a
In a
land
land
where we'll
we'll never
grow
grow
old.
old.
When our
When
work
the work here is done and
and
the
life
light
is
won,
won, and
and
the
the
troubles
troubles
and trials
are
are
o'er,
all
all our sorrow
and
and the voices will blend
with
with the loved ones who gone on before.
never
Never
grow
where we'll never grow old.
old in
In a land
and
where we'll never grow old.
never
Never
grow
grow old. Where we'll
old,
never
never grow
grow
old
old.
in
In a
and
land where we'll never grow
grow old.
old. Sam says he wants to be the humblest man in the Philippines since Moses beat him to being the humblest man on earth.
I don't think so. You smell like rubber. That shit smell like oil.
Yes, he got oil all over his side there as he was carrying the engine that he didn't need to pull out. But he didn't find that until too late.
Talk about excessive. Wow.
Well, we hope that you have been edified through time spent in singing and chit chatting and Bible tonight. We had all three tonight.
Yippers.
I know that we have been edified and uplifted by your presence tonight. We know that you could have been otherwise employed, and we want to thank you for being here with us. Sam, yeah, what you did miss, you could probably catch up in the comments, rewatching the video as well. Some brief synopsis. We went over the Bible. I don't know where you left out at. We talked about
We discovered that the prophet that wanted to be whacked and smote was a prophet of God.
yes. And we showed how you could tell that by two verses.
He had all the authority.
The fact that it says that he spoke by the word of Jehovah, and the second one was because when the guy refused to smite him, the prophet prophesied that he would be killed by a lion as soon as he left the presence of the prophet, and that exactly happened. Then Brother Sean jumped back on and asked for prayers. He's having a little bit difficulty controlling his temper, and him and Sylvia are having a disagreement, and so he could use your prayers. So if you would be so kind to add them to your prayers this evening or this day for you. So that kind of brings you up to where we're at. So, and we just sang that last song as we're getting ready to close out. And we pray that you have been edified.
Even though I
No, we
can't
haven't.
seem to carry a tune in the bucket today.
Probably because your bucket has a few holes in it.
Probably.
Um,
Just leaking all over the place.
all over.
It must have been one of Larry's buckets. Cracked.
It's definitely not all it's cracked up to be, huh? Anyhow, we also pray that you walk with the King this day, this night, and every day, that the Lord grants you with life on this earth. As long as you're walking with the King, you can be secure in knowing that if you wake here on this earth to serve him tomorrow, or whether you wake to serve him up there tomorrow, you know where we'll be, because we'll see you then. God bless.
Thank you all for being here. Y'all have a wonderful rest of your day or night. God bless.